Hello everyone, this is What If Fanfic and today I'll bring you What If Naruto was bored and mess with the Greek gods. The link to the story will be in the description. If you want to hear a fanfiction, please comment down below. Now on to the story.
It was a moonless night when it was all decided. The sky that night was dark and haunting, the winds too, were chilly that night as it blew by gently in the darkness. It was also very quiet, too quiet since there are commonly crickets chirping in the crisp night air, with the vigilant owls hunting in the sky as they hunted for their preys. In a secluded area of the elemental nations, there exists a forest, one that was overflowing with animals and plant life as stories encircles the forest. Every story about the forestry all mention the same thing: a deity. The deity that is continuously mentioned in the old stories and legends is a fox. One with 10 flowing tails and a golden coat. It is mentioned as a kind being, one who is a protector to those that sought for his help, but also a trickster like all foxes are to some degree. The forest itself is next to a small village. It might be a small one, but it was a happy one nonetheless. The people there had partaken to build a shrine dedicated to the deity fox, offering it many things, and praying to the fox for small wishes of protection and blessings. The wishes that the villagers made were granted since no harm has ever truly plagued them, and times were peaceful and blissful for them as they continued on with their everyday lives, with farmers bringing home bountiful harvests every fall. Everything that they've learned in the village have passed down generations and generations without fail. Every generation have believed the same old stories that have passed down without fail from their ancestors, and took praying and offerings very seriously since it had always protected them, and they want the generations after them to gain the same protection they had always gotten. Furthermore, they would often spot a golden blur from time to time, and were reassured that the deity was real, and he was truly there to protect them. However, if someone were to ask the fox deity for his opinion about the way life was for him, he would reply that it is utterly boring, and highly unsatisfying. Foxes are mischievous and trouble creatures by nature. Doing nothing exciting is utterly unfitting of a creature of his species, deity or not. XXXXX As of now, our fox deity is presently patrolling in a circle as the foggy haze wrapped the forest in its cold embrace. If someone were to try to see through the foggy haze, all they would be able to make out would be the large fox-like figure that was muttering incoherently to itself as it traces a pattern in the ground from his constant pacing. He paused in his pacing. It's so boo-o-oring. The fox deity moaned to himself in misery as he stretched out the last, and most of all, important word that described his current condition. After getting that phrase out, he went silent as he stretched and yawned for the world to hear. He sat down on his haunches and pondered to himself. What should I do? What should I do? Life is boring, especially immortal life. He deadpanned to himself. If someone were to see a fox talking to themselves, they would think that they were mental. Actually, anybody that sees a person talking to themselves would be considered mental, regardless. But he can't help it if he talks to himself. It is a long habit that he developed due to boredom and loneliness. He heaved a sigh as he lay down with his paw supporting his face. TCH. Living here so long, knowing everything that could be learned, what can a person do anyways? After a little digging in his mind, a light bulb went off as his face morphed into something that would immediately put a person on guard due to the sheer evilness it showed. He started to chuckle softly at first, before it turned into a full-blown evil laughter. Mwahaha. Based on the old Juubi's memories, there's unlimited amounts of worlds in the universe. I can go to one of them and relieve myself of my boredom before returning to my post. His voice was dark as he fell into a bout of insanity for a moment before dragging himself out of it. He picked at the ground as he declared. I am not an Uzumaki if I do not cause chaos. I am not Naruto if it isn't pandemic disorder. I can finally put my supplies and knowledge to use after all of these millenniums of doing nothing. I swear it on the Uzumaki name that it will be the best thing ever, for us of course. The aliens on the receiving end is in for a world of despair. The now named Uzumaki Naruto grinned a shit-eating grin as he prepared the materials needed to place an anchor here, and go to another world. Now, a bit of bio on Uzumaki Naruto. Name, Uzumaki Naruto, also known as Namikaze Naruto when he was still human. Birth date, October 10th. Occupation, former ninja, now a deity. Not as interesting as it seems, really. Life info, formerly the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. During the Fourth Shinobi War, to save the world, he personally sealed the Juubi into himself. But, by some kami goddamn luck, instead of him dying, he had actually took over the Juubi's mind and learned everything it knew and became the new Juubi. He then proceeded to kick Madara's ass. He outlived everybody, which devastated him when they all died. But he persevered through it all, knowing they wanted him happy, not mourning over their deaths. He spread peace, become a legend, and learned all he could. Size, very, very big. About twice as big as the QB. But he wouldn't want to squish anybody, would he? Gender, asexual. He is technically asexual now as a chakra being, but he preferred his old human form at times, but will be a girl for certain circumstances if it's for his benefit. But he is usually in the form of a fox since he really liked the feeling of being respected and as such, is usually in his fox form playing the occasionally prank on people. And besides, the fox form grown on him, and he now loves being fox and not humans most of the time. As an immortal being, life gets boring and the rest, like people say, is history. Alright, let's do this. His tails were blurs as he drew the seals carefully on the ground in blood, noting any mistakes that he may have made in the process that could throw him into oblivion. He nodded his head satisfied when he found none, and pushed huge amounts of chakra into the complex seal. As the seal glowed, he whistled and cheered. Watch it, worlds, the world's most unpredictable being is coming with chaos following his tails. Sayonara, my world. I'm leaving things in your care. He directed the clone he left for insurance as the clone gave as a fox version of a salute and he disappeared from the world for now. He might come back later, but then again, he might decide to have some more fun somewhere else, but that is a story for another day. XXXXXM, he mumbled to himself as he picked his chosen world. So many choices, so little time. Oh, who am I kidding? I have all the time I need. His tails waved lazily as he poked the diagrams of optional worlds he could go to. Let's see. Blood-sucking vampires that sparkles, and werewolves that are sane. Something the very definition of oddness. A world inhabited by ponies and uses some pony. I do believe I want a world a bit more. Human inhabited? Ranma, poor guy, sounds like ramen. He pitied the guy who had girls chasing him left and right, all because of one guy, his stupid dad. He gazed trailed by another Earth and he smirked. Gods? Of course. Monsters? Why not? Demigods? The gods sure have been busy. I would love to play with them, bet they have sticks up their asses. His laughter sent down chills throughout all the worlds, and they all felt relief for a second, all except one world, his chosen world, who all felt dread pooling in their minds. Why do I feel so relieved, as if we are just saved from a disaster? I feel like something is up, but not the Titans coming back, dread? XXXXX the fates. The three old grannies suddenly paused in whatever they were doing. The future? New prophecies? They are all changing. Becoming chaotic. What is going on? What is coming now? The three thought in confusion. XXXXX on Mount Olympus. Zeus frowned. For some reason, Zeus felt like slamming his head into the nearest wall and sigh loudly. He feels that a huge headache is coming, both literal and non-literal. He mulled silently to himself as he sat on his throne, thinking about what may happen in the future, and he heaves a sigh. I really hate being the king now with all of this shit happening. He heaved a sigh. Why does it have to be me? He asked out loud, and of course, no one answered him since no one was there. XXXXX somewhere else. In the middle of his mailing, Hermes suddenly felt like bouncing around in joy. His pranking radar was going off at lightning speeds. He grins to himself. His two snakes coil and shifted, looking left and right, up and down for any signs of disturbance. There were none. Seems like something fun and unexpected will be happening soon, eh? And I may as well gain a pranking partner at the same time. He sang happily and he set off, continuing his job, whistling a happy tune as he goes about as with his mailing. XXXXX a small vortex opened to show one Uzumaki Naruto as he landed undetected from the gods in a small wooded area. He nodded his head, satisfied as he trotted toward a rather large tree, and fell asleep in one of its branches in preparation for tomorrow. XXXXX Inari twitched. For some reason, he cannot control and stop his ears or tails from twitching. Something was going to happen soon, either it was good or bad, but for now, it was neutral. So either that something has nothing big to do with him, or it would concern them later on with another party. He would go with the latter. As the Japanese fox god, his intuition is unmatched if it concerns something that would be dangerous to them. Foxes are tricky creatures that uses their wit and cunningness to outmaneuver opponents, so while he can say he isn't the strongest, he is definitely the smartest and slyest. Oh, well. Whatever that is about to happen has nothing to do with him, unless otherwise. XXXXX next morning. Naruto's eyes snapped open as he gazed at the unfamiliar surroundings before the memories from the day before rushed into his mind. Oh, that's right. He went world hopping in hopes of relieving his ultimate boredom. Was he sane when he made the decision? Oh, who cares, fun is fun tilde. He sat down and entered his meditation state as he felt the world's natural energy. It felt slightly off, like being in a genjutsu. This world is odd. The majority of the high powers seems to be concentrated in one area. The top of a building? Has a barrier so normal people don't see it. Too bad I'm not normal. He frowned a bit as he felt more similar signatures in another area. Those gods sure have been busy to have so many kids. I feel kind of bad for them. The monsters of this world goes after them like an enraged Kakashi after the person who burned his Icha Icha. I would know since I did that by accident once. He shivered in horror. The man was truly a man to be reckoned with when enraged. His eyes snapped open and hardened. Who cares about the matters in this world? I'm just the visitor that will cause some trouble to them. But the first place to start is the building. Oh, the faces that I will see, it will be terrific gifts or blackmailing material if I ever happen to visit again. He laughed creepily as a dark aura surrounded his form before he disappeared in a swirl of wind to cause some pride-damaging pranks. He appeared on top of the building and thought about a problem that just entered his mind. What language do they speak? If he wrote insults in his own language, it will only be for naught since they can't read it, therefore, they can't understand it. With a flick of his tails, several cage bunshines appeared and they wordlessly split up to gather information as he sat there patiently, making sure to hide his chakra. After a while, one of his bunshines finally dispelled and he furrowed his eyebrows together again in confusion, making a look on his face as he quickly reviewed the new memories he got from his bunshines. His face looked so confused that you can basically see the question marks over his head. What the heck? English? Spanish? Latin? Chinese? What's up with all of these languages? He yelled out to the world before calming down for a second when another one of his bunshines dispelled. Japanese? That's a lot like the language we spoke in the elemental nations. But still, what's up with this world and these cultures, languages and everything? But it seems like I'm in some state called USA where the majority speaks English, with Spanish as the second majority, he murmured to himself and thought furiously. He sat there pondering to himself about this new world until another one and the last one of his bunshines dispelled itself, gaining the knowledge it, borrowed. His eyes lit up and a light bulb went off in his head when he received the information. It seems like this bunshine decided to prey on a demigod, learning about the gods here and their language. Yes, perfect, what better ways to tell them insults in their own language? He should also use his acquired knowledge of the other languages and write insults in those too, just to piss them off even more. Cuckoo. He slapped a tail over his mouth. No way is he going to be like Orochimaru. That guy was a sick pedophile that loves little boys. It is definitely true with how he went after Sasuke's body. No way is he going to be any way like him. But that aside, it's time to get going, and he let out another evil laugh which sent chills down the gods' backs. What the heck was that? They each asked themselves as they looked over their shoulders, looking for whatever that disturbed them. XXXXX Naruto stood in front of a grand room that was crystal clean and oh, so grand. He wiped a tear that came to his eyes. It has been so long. So long since he found something so crystal and important, so he could defile like he did to the Hokage mountain all of those years ago. This is his art. He shook his head to clear his mind. Now is not the time to think about the old times. He can submerge himself in his memories later. A wicked gleam came to his eyes. So perfect. So clean. I just want to piss them off by dissing them off through my art of pain and humiliation, pranking. Cage bunshine. And he made hundreds of them before unsealing all colors of his paint. All right, foxes. Let's get moving. And they each grabbed some much needed equipment with their tails before going off their own part of the wall to begin the gods' humiliation. They all cackled evilly as they worked on their respective chosen places. Really, all the Narutos are so in love with their fox forms as it is all the extra tails which are like extra arms to paint and write insults on every available place. Don't forget traps. The original side in content, rubbing his face along his tail for a moment before going back to work. More arms just mean faster work. Which is perfect for them, as they need to be as fast as possible before anyone comes. After 30 minutes, Naruto looked up at his masterpiece. This is perfecto. Every inch of the walls was covered, nothing was spared from his rampage, not even the floor, the ceiling and statues. He wrote insults in all the languages he knew on everything and most importantly, a victory sign, a very large victory sign, sitting right on the ceiling. He even planted some paintball traps here and there, and especially the seats. One was part of the place was bright hot pink that is so bright that it hurts your eyes, and he even put shining sprinkles on it just to enhance the shininess and complete it. He even made fluffy stuffed animals with his art things and put it on the chair that was once red, but made the same color as the pink part of the room. The biggest chair, he made it puck colored. Ew, he even drew the offending waist and such on it to emphasize it. He bet whoever that chair belongs to was the leader, and that is for him. He even did a trap that would do the 1,000 years of death on the chair in seals just to piss him off and pain him even more. Not to mention humiliate him in front of others. He cackled darkly, just thinking about it made him go off in giggles. Oh, he even made an emo corner by coloring it all dark and gloomy, writing insults in a bloody red color along with foxfire decorations floating around in the corner. He has to say, his clone did a pretty good job on that, especially since it's made with Sasuke in mind, the #1 emo highness. He had also unsealed some skulls and skeletons and put them in that corner for fun. With the amounts of traps of all kinds he rigged, and in many layers one after another, it would take them a long time to get rid of everything. All who come before him shall remember him. Oh well, I'm done, time to go, he said, giving himself pats on the back for a work well done, and smirking in comprehension on their reactions. He gave a self-satisfied smirk and did a happy dance. He began to leave until he remembered something. Should he leave a trail for them to follow and piss them off after he escapes them or what? Yeah, let's do that. It just means more fun for me after all, tilde, and he whistled a jaunty tune as he disappeared in a whirlwind of elements. XXXXX Zeus was horrified. No, he is beyond horrified. Beyond horrified enough that he can't even describe what he was feeling. Oh, and let's not forget that he is downright murderous. He immediately thundered and called a meeting, tapping his foot impatiently. Apollo was the first to arrive. Yo dad. What's this meat? He trailed off, gawking at the sight before him. He blinked once, twice, and a third time. He raised a hand and rubbed his eyes, trying to find out if he was imagining things. When it was still there, he proceeded to ask his father. WW what? HH how? He managed to stutter out in his horrified shock. What did you think I called a meeting out of nowhere for? Zeus roared at his son. Apollo was shell-shocked, frozen in place with all sorts of scenarios racing through his mind on what had happened. Sometime after Apollo arrived, all the other Olympian gods and goddesses arrived. They all gawked at the sight before them as well, horrified at what happened to their chairs and home. Ares was the one that broke the stunned silence with his deafening roar of rage. Why the hell is my chair pink? Bright pink? So atrociously pink that my eyes are burning right now with stuffed animals that are also fucking pink, sitting on my chair? He hollered out. He will kill whoever that did this. He promised loudly in his head. All the other immortals had similar thoughts about the culprit, and were planning on what they were going to do to them when they catch the person that did this. They were also seething at not finding out that anybody was touching their chairs, and that they did not know that it happened at all, till now. Wow, I didn't know that Ares knew such a smart vocabulary word. Hestia commented from her hearth in goodwill, but shrank back when they all turned on furious eyes at her. Ah. Don't bother about me. She quickly told them as they went back to the matter on hand. Tempers. And she sighed at their behavior. Artemis. Zeus thundered. You will find the culprit and drag them back. He clenched his hand. They will regret everything they have ever done. He finished with his eyes blazing with fiery fire, dark hate in his eyes. All the other were in similar states, and as one, eyes blazing hot, nodded in agreement. They couldn't agree any more than this. Yes, father. And with that, Artemis set out, mind smoldering, engrossed in thoughts about what she would do. She followed the trail that will undoubtedly lead her to the culprit. If it was a man, then she will, censored, and then, censored, him. She nodded in her mind determinedly and followed the faint trail. XXXXX. Meanwhile in the underworld. Hades was laughing his butt off, which was very unlike him, but he can't help it. He was always bitter about the fact that he wasn't allowed on the Olympus, but what just happened made him a bit happy about the fact that he doesn't have a seat on the council. He sighed happily, joy filling him as he watched his brother's predicament. Oh, he is so going to record this and bring it up to them one day and humiliated them all. Whoever that did it has his eternal gratefulness. If they were found and killed, he won't punish them, oh no, definitely not. He would reward them greatly for their services, and make him his personal servant/planner for revenge against his brothers. If they were able to prank God and remain undetected while they were doing it, then they are worth more than any riches he have. And he cackled evilly as the sound bounced around in the underworld, scaring all of those that heard it. It was a full moon night. The moon was shining, the owls were flying and the crickets were chirping. Everything seemed perfectly normal with nothing out of place. But it was definitely not true with a certain goddess and her all-girl group of immortal hunters. Artemis, as the goddess of the moon, is at her strongest during the full moon. The moon symbolizes her power and namesake, as well as her being her brother's opposite. Her brother is the sun, happy and bright, while she is the moon, using the sun's light to shine. It symbolizes the two perfectly, as one brightens the other up while the other one keeps the other in line. both used for balancing the other. But that is not what tonight is about, it is about something totally different. Artemis was seething in rage as she yelled all the curses known in the world in her mind at the culprit. Her hunters were in no better condition than her after they found out what the culprit did to their goddess and at the fact that they could not seem to find the culprit yet after so long. It's a blow to their pride as hunters, damn it. She and her hunters have been tracking the culprit for days. And they were no closer than before on finding said culprit. She feels as if the culprit was mocking her tracking skills, leading them in circles so they can't find them. As they continue to track the energy trail and no success, Artemis was about to tear her hair out in frustration until her eye caught sight of another trail that was fainter than the one they were following, overshadowed by the fake trail. She grinned. Finally they found a hint. And this trail better be the right one or damn them that someone is going to find themselves painfully dead. Artemis straightened up and called out to her girls. We found another trail. This one should probably be the real one. Let's head out and move. A chorus of yes was heard as they began packing their tents and removing the traces from the campsite as if they were never there. Artemis shouldered her bow and arrows and looked toward the full moon. Soon, we'll find them soon, she thought, unaware of the eyes watching her in a nearby tree. XXXXX Naruto is currently sleeping, curled up in a tree in the forest he arrived in. That is, until the bunshine that he placed to watch the moon goddess dispelled. He groggily opens his eyes and yawned as he jumped out of his tree and stretched a bit. Seems like she finally found the real trail. Since I'm already awake, why not do a few laps and stretches for warm-up before going back to the tree and wait? Maybe he can even catch a few more Z's as he waited for the goddess. He nodded at the thought of getting more sleep. All of the time in the world certainly made him lazy. He stretched a few more kinks out of his back before starting at a jog, speeding up every few seconds till he was running at top speed in the size of a small dog. He doesn't want anybody to come here searching for what was making all of the racket if he were running in a bigger form, after all. Half an hour of running, and a 2-hour nap later. He tapped his tails impatiently, waiting for the goddess and her hunters. 5 minutes later, he was pacing in a circle, a straight line, and whatever other shapes he came up with to ease his boredom. After another 10 minutes of pacing, he finally had enough, and decides to do something productive to the goddess and hunters for making him wait. He grinned foxily to himself as he thought about his latest prank and all the little praise he can catch in them. He was going to let them have it easy by not pranking them at first, but they have tested his patience to the limits and he is not a patient being at all. Even if he is. How old is he? Either way, it doesn't matter how long it's been, nor how old he is now, he is still not a patience person/fox, damn them. But he is damn far more patient than before at least. Either way, he's getting off topic. Back to the subject at hand of his brilliant prank, Operation Teach the hunters and their goddess a lesson for making the most badass being ever, wait for fucking hours. That name is a bit long. Let's shorten it to THGL. Which means Teach Hunters Goddess Lesson. Alright. His eyes gained a light that makes even Hades shiver in fright and try to hide. Time to plan. First, these hunters don't seems like the girly type at all tilde. So, pink would be awesome for them. No wait. I think that those awesome color changing paint I made are still in my pocket dimension. How I love these seals. Either way, let's go with the blinding colors. Pink, orange, and gold. I'll make them so shiny they'll blind themselves. Let's not forget it can only be washed off with alcohol, he laughed devilishly at that. They will never wash it off. Even if they did, they will smell like drunks for days.
Mwahahahahahaha, he laughed with his crazed grin.
Next. Let's dig holes for pitfalls. And bury them to their heads, while some of them will be dangling from their legs upside down while I rig some bugs to fall. Oh, and let's ask some skunks for the ones in the ground. I'm so glad I learned how to talk animals. You can never know when it'll be useful tilde. The reason why Naruto learned how to talk to animals in the first place was because he was extremely bored. You can never know what boredom can drive people to do, and apparently it actually drove him to learn how to talk to animals. Him of all people to learn something like that. Then again, he was called the most unpredictable ninja of all times during his era. He nodded to himself, chest swelling in pride at his title. It is an awesome title, damn you all haters. Either way, it's time to make some traps and call in some skunks for a few favors. He whistled to himself as he trotted through the forest at an even pace, anticipating when the hunters would come and give them his welcoming present. XXXXX Artemis and her hunters are currently entering another forest, following the trail. Artemis and her hunters has been strangely getting chills for the past few minutes, each one worse than the other as the minutes crept by. She shivered again. Something seriously bad is going to happen. Both she and her hunters know that distinctly. They just hope that it isn't that bad, but they are probably just wishing for something that is out of Wish's control. They at the very least hope it isn't something humiliating like the Olympians, but all of the chill seems to tell them to prepare. Prepare for what is to come. And survive it no matter how awful it is. And it is extremely awful. Worser than any imaginations that you may come up with. Is what their sixth sense seems to be telling them. They unconsciously grouped together more as the trail led them deeper into the forest, praying for their safety and sanity. XXXXX eyes gleamed in anticipation among the treetops as the owner of said eyes watched the hunters walk through the forest. Naruto licked his lips, as they walked closer, and closer, until... There. Kya. What the? My lady. Naruto mentally high-fived himself and patted his back for a trap well done. Now, for the bugs and skunks, he gave a mental command for the skunks to come to duty and for the bugs to start raining. He cackled in his mind as he rubbed his paws together, preparing multiple cameras in each of his 10 tails to take pictures for blackmail material. How he loved blackmails and cameras along with paints of humiliation. It always worked wonders on those that don't want to listen to you. He also put silencing seals on the cameras so they won't make a sound. You. Bugs. Several that were dangling in the air by their ankles cried out. No. Skunks. Disgusting. The ones in the ground screamed. Artemis herself was one of those. Snicker. Click 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 K. And the cameras went off in quick succession as he gathered his prize. After he got his materials, he quietly put them away before putting on his best acting face of total, utterly cuteness. He first checked his face. Okay. Perfect angel face. Expression? Check. Body size? Check. Big blue eyes? Check. Wings? Hidden. Already. Time to get moving. And he slowly popped his head out of the trees in which he was hiding in. XXXXX my senses are going off at lightning speed. Artemis thought. What's going to happen? She carefully checked her surroundings. Everything seems fine and ordinary. But her heart was beating wildly as she checked her surroundings until Kya. A scream tore out of her throat as she was dragged into the ground up to her head, as her hunters too, were either dragged into the ground or hanged upside down. What in Hades' name is going on? They all thought, and paled when they saw skunks slinking toward them along with bugs raining down from the trees. Not to mention that before all of that happened, they were hit by some kind of bullets which happens to be paint bombs and were now changing colors as they were all in their various state of humiliating doom. This is the worst thing ever that has happened to her. Why did this have to happen in the first place? Artemis thought gloomily and angrily. When I catch thou, thou shall be doomed even worse than hell, Zoe yelled out as she was hanged upside down, her face turning red from the blood rushing to her head. Russell. They all looked toward the sound, waiting for whatever it is to come. Is it another trap? Please no chaos. Was the general thought rushing through their minds, until they saw a little head poke out from a nearby bush. Some of them melted at the sight. It was a tiny fox. It looked to be about the size of a baby one. It was golden in color along with those blue eyes. It looked just like the little angel. Many wanted to cuddle and pet it, but they could not in their situations. Artemis meanwhile narrowed her eyes suspiciously. It was a fox. And foxes are tricksters. Her suspicion was confirmed when it fully walked out of its hiding place. It had multiple tails like the foxes in Japanese legends. It is most likely the one that put them in this situation in the first place. And it is probably also the culprit since the trail ends here. But first, she has to get her and her hunters out of their current problem. A few minutes later. They were all on their knees in tiredness, and depression on their appearance and humiliation. They can't show their faces to anyone right now in their condition with the paint colors changing every few minutes. Artemis sighed tiredly. Foxes are starting to be on her hit list. She climbed up to her feet and glared at the fox. That was your doing, wasn't it? She asked. The fox merely looked at her innocently with his head cocked to the side. She was so not buying it. First you have multiple tails while normal ones only have one, next, you were hiding here all along, and the most important thing that Japanese folk tales often portrays about foxes is that they are tricksters. She told him with her hand on her head, rubbing it. She is now getting a huge headache. She looked toward the sky. How she hates her job and life right now and hope that no one sees her condition right now. Yo Artemis/little sis. Two voices called out happily from behind her. She froze. Darn. She cursed herself by thinking about. She robotically turned her head around, sweating bullets hoping she was wrong. They really were here. She sank to her knees in depression, humiliation and resignation. Why? Why gods why? She asked herself. What the heck happened to you guys? Hermes asked her, and Apollo nodded in agreement. Artemis merely pointed at the fox, no longer having the energy to talk. She wanted to die. How bad is her day going to be? She cried mentally. Apollo walked over to the fox with Hermes behind him and picked up the fox. This little guy? Are you sure, Artie? I mean, besides the tails which are unusual, he looks totally innocent, Apollo exclaimed. The fox suddenly gained a glint in his eyes that Hermes recognized immediately, as he himself had that glint quite often, but he was not fast enough to dodge what the fox planned for them. Thus, both were dripping with paint that was rainbow-colored a few seconds later. See what I told you to, Artemis scolded in an accusing tone. She was right, damn them. Apollo and Hermes were speechless. Where did the fox get the paint bombs from anyways, and why them too? What did they ever do to him and his species? Even though he looks really cute and innocent, he sure is the devil himself. Apollo popped a vein. How dare this little guy do this to me? He's going down. He thought before he tried to strangle him, but was stopped by Artemis. Why did you stop me? He whined to his sister. Artemis finally gained the strength to get up and folded her arms together and told him her reason of stopping him, because, this fox is probably the culprit that did a makeover on Mount Olympus and made us go in circles before springing the trap on us. We should be bringing him to Father now so that he can decide what to do to this fox. And I think this fox has something to do with the Japanese, as they often have folk lords of foxes, and don't they have a fox god, Inari I think? Artemis asked them. So you're saying this might be a pet of the fox god? At this, Naruto popped a vein. He was no one's pet, damn him, and proceeded to scratch out Apollo's face before getting away and hid himself somewhere where they can't find him, but he could spy on them. Either way, Naruto got some interesting information. He hummed quietly to himself in the shadows. Naruto was furious. No. He was beyond furious. How dare that low life of a god, note sarcasm, call him out of all the forsaken immortals in the dimensions someone's pet. He is nobody's pet. Never been, and never will. Oh, how that person is going to be doomed. He shall be doomed in the worst possible way imagined for someone like him. He began cackling evilly again, like he always does when he was going to destroy someone's precious things. For example, for someone like Kakashi, destroying Icha Icha is the worst possible doom for him besides banning Icha Icha. He would fall into depression and kill whoever did it. He did it once and managed to get away with him life. Besides, it was an accident. But it doesn't mean he likes Icha Icha. He will never like it. He shall never become a pervert. No matter what. It was his ultimate promise that had yet to be broken yet, and he is not planning to, as he shall never become another Jiraiya. A few years of seeing Uro Sennin getting beaten to within a millimeter of his life was enough to scare him from ever doing something like that. Besides, he's asexual, so should it really matter to him? But back to the matter on hand, based on his wise knowledge and large amounts of information he acquired, he managed to find out where the sun god lived. Hooray for him. Doomed to the sun god. Apollo. XXXXX from everywhere else, Apollo shivered. He felt like crawling in a hole to hide from something that is bound to happen from what his predictions are warning him about. All he could see is that something will happen to his home. XXXXX right now, Naruto is currently breaking into the sun god's home, undetected. He has one thing to say about the security around Apollo's house. His security sucks. It sucks big time. If someone like him, who knows how to hide his presence, were to break into his home, it would be easily done. But the thing is that most gods either don't know how, don't bother, or something along those lines, so most gods have rather easy securities. But either way, his plan. To break the god in the most horrible way possible, mentally. He knows what type of person Apollo is by one look. A playboy type that loves girls. If there weren't girls, something serious would happen to such a person. And, he also bet all of his gold that every male god is a pervert in some way. I mean, how can they not? They each have so many children and are all powerful, so he bets that they are perverts. And there is one thing that would break any pervert. Yaoi. That's right people, yaoi. Any guy that has a healthy appreciation of the female body shall break. After all, he did it to Kakashi once. He literally turned into stone, and fell apart as his dust particles flew away with the wind. That was extremely funny. Kakashi had to spend a week in the hospital to fix his mental scarring. But back to his revenge, he first finds any, and all porn of any sort, whether it was magazines, videos, books, poster, anything. And replaced it all with yaoi things. Next, he is going to start apply seals to the god's clothes. The seals that he is going to use, is especially custom-made seals that shall doom any pervert of any kind. A short explanation of what the seal does. First of all, he is going to program it a certain way. The seal is used to attract certain things, be it people, animals, or some random object. A playboy god such as Apollo will definitely like to go after beautiful women and woo them. He has the look, so it will go successfully most times. This Seals does the opposite. First, Apollo loves women. Beautiful ones. So he is going to program that in the part that repels things. So, if Apollo wants to try to go after girls, they will go away and won't be attracted to him. But it will attract gays and old, ugly women towards him. Kek. This shall be his worst nightmare. He even made a genjutsu that will show him the worst possible things in the world, and he shall die. Die. From mental trauma. Mwahahahaha. This is his revenge. All WHO piss him off shall be traumatized. And live with it for the rest of their lives. And since this is an immortal, then he shall have it for the rest of eternity. How kind is he not to leave such a kind gift for the sun god? Right? Right? Yeah, right. All who knows him will definitely shake their heads furiously as they chant no. Over and over again. One such person is, of course, Kakashi. Either way, he is now finished with his revenge. All he has to do right now is to plant cameras all over the place, and then he shall be truly done, with evidence, blackmail, and laughing materials on the sun god. Doomed to all WHO pisses off Uzumaki Naruto. But first, he needs to get out of here before he is found out. And with a poof of smoke, he poof out of the god's home and back to the forest he landed in, cackling wickedly all the while as he waits impatiently for the sun god to go home. XXXXX Apollo tiptoed to his door slowly. Eyes raking over his door and front mat to make sure nothing was planned on it. He cautiously placed a foot down on his doormat to test it. He let out a relieved sigh when nothing happened, yet. Oh, he knows that something will happen to him, but he will take it like a man. But still. A piece of his mind still wonders if he can back out of this and never go in. But damn it. He has a pride, you know. He will take anything that is coming at him like a man. So he squared his shoulders, and warily opened his door and walked in. Nothing seems wrong with his home? Everything is in place like how he left it. He let out the breath that he was holding as he walks toward his bed. Seems like he was just overly worried since nothing has happened. And he let out the scream of the century. He fell to the floor, clutching his balls and butt where a pole was currently sticking out. He has just sat down on his bed when this happened to him. Why, oh why? Ahem. It seems that Naruto forgot to explain about this part of the prank of his. The pole is for pain, while what happened to Apollo's balls was merely extra pain. He made a little thing that takes direct aim at someone's balls, and attacks it. He names it the Nutcracker. The Nutcracker has a 90% chance of killing off your balls and make you infertile. But because of the fact that he used to be a male, he rarely used it on another fellow male as he remembers the pain of getting kicked in the balls. But Apollo has insulted him in the worst possible way, so he'll disregard his former male feelings and get revenge on him, using cruel and painful methods, to a male that is. But still, part of his male feeling feels pain for him, so he lowered the power behind it a bit. Just a tiny bit. But it is better than nothing. Apollo has finally removed the pole from his butt and was now healing his asshole and balls. If it weren't for the fact that he was the god of healing, and Naruto's small mercy, he would have seriously lost his ability to make children. He thanked Lady Luck that he didn't become infertile from the vicious trap, and got up to go to his porn collection as he feels that that was all there was to the trap. Yeah, right. How wrong he is. He screamed a girly yah. As he clawed at his eyes, trying to get the picture out of his mind. My eyes. My eyes. They are burning. Someone. Please be merciful and kill me. He screamed as he tried to banish the image out of his mind. There was gay porn. Gay porn. In his things. He kept screaming and banging his head, until eventually, he just crawled away whimpering, hiding himself in the darkest corner. XXXXX Naruto is dying. He is dying from the laughter that is shaking his whole body as he witnesses what is going on with the sun god. He eventually stopped his laughter enough that he could breathe. Oh, my kami-sama. That was hilarious. I did not expect it to work that well, but then again, I did place a genjutsu on that box of his to make him see himself fucking another god. That must have killed his mind. Oh, how evil I am, he exclaimed as he wipes the tears that were leaking out of his eyes. Oh, good old days. How he misses pulling pranks such as these. He should have done this a long time ago. Now, time to go find another target. XXXXX Zeus was getting impatient. He had called a meeting a while ago and every Olympian has assembled besides Apollo. Wherein Hades' name is his son. He even sent Hermes to go get him. Now all he is doing is waiting for the god of messenger to come back. Ah, he's back. Where's Apollo? He asks Hermes with raised eyebrows when he didn't see Apollo with him. Hermes looked around awkwardly before steadying himself and answering Zeus. I don't really know. When I found him, he was muttering in the darkest corner of his house, asking me to kill him. Begging. I think something happened to him like what happened to Artemis, and he is in no condition to do anything. Someone needs to take over his morning job for the moment, as he is basically insane right now. He finished as he stole a quick glance at the moon goddess. She was scowling as she was still in her paint-splattered state from before. No matter what Artemis did, she could not wash off the paint. Right now, she is extremely moody and am ready to kill anybody who rises her ire. She would find and kill the fox no matter what. The Olympians all around were in an awkward silence as they digested the information. Great, why is this happening to us in the first place? Aphrodite decided to ask. Was the answer, as no one knows why they were being humiliated. Zeus sighs tiredly before giving out an order to Hermes. Go find the Japanese gods about this, as they have a fox god and maybe they can help out. Hermes nodded in agreement. I should probably go warn my son too, just in case, to beware of multi-tailed foxes. And then he left as Zeus adjourned the meeting. XXXXX. Luke was confused. Beware of multi-tailed foxes? Why? He doesn't understand the warning that his father gave him, but he will remember it as he was planning to leave and go somewhere else. His mother was going more and more wacko, and he certainly does not want to be anywhere near her right now. He just finished packing his bags quickly and quietly ran out of his home. He will survive and find a place where he will fit in. Although Luke resolved that he would survive and find the place where he will fit in. He may die before that even happens. Maybe he had been a bit hasty when he decided to leave, maybe even a bit stupid, because right now, he is being chased by a cyclops. He cursed, calling himself stupid for not asking for a weapon from his father before he left. If he had, then maybe he would have stood a fighting chance and not get eaten by the stupid monster. Why, oh why? Was he born a demigod? It would have been so much easier if he had been normal, but fate has a fickly way of doing things. Ack. He quickly dodged to the right and rolled forward a bit before running into a side path. He kept running till the Cyclops finally caught him on his leg and tripped him forward, his face planting into the ground. Yuck. Dirt. Now he has no choice but to at least try to fight. There is no way he is going down without a fight. And so, he found the nearest thing that could serve as a weapon and prepared himself. What he didn't notice was the pair of eyes watching from within the shadows above. Watching and gauging his worthiness. As well as analyzing everything about him. He, little demigod. Be a good boy and be eaten for lunch. And the Cyclops lunged at Luke as he dodged. He kept dodging and dodging until he got tired, which resulted in him slowing down and getting slammed back into a wall. Luke struggled to his feet as the Cyclops looked at him amusedly before lunging again, this time, truly intending on finishing him off. Luke closed his eyes, waiting for the unavertible death and pain. When nothing happened, he opened his eyes to witness a shocking scene. The Cyclops was restrained by several tails? At least he thinks they are. One of the tails speared through the monster as well, so it was disintegrating into sand right now. After that, the particles were scattered to make it harder for him to reform. When Luke found out just what had saved him, he narrowed his eyes. It was a fox. A multi-tailed one that his father warned him to be careful of. He stiffened when it used one of its tails to grab him off the ground and go to who knows where. XXXXX. This kid is stubborn. And paranoid, but for a good reason. If he had monsters chasing him left and right, he would be like this too, except he already went through that, but instead of monsters, it was S-class missing nins who were 1,000 more times scarier and stronger than those little monsters. Honestly, what do these gods teach their children these days? Even academy students can probably beat them, those who are serious ninjas, and these are children of gods. Gods. But seriously, how long is this kid going to stare at me? Can't he even give me a thanks for saving him? And he also made my schedule take a serious leap. He was supposed to prank Hermes today. And based on this kid's energy feel, he's his kid too. Sigh, how long is this going to continue? Grow owl. Luke blushed. His blasted stomach. Oh, seems like this kid's hungry. Food time. Naruto took out his special food scroll and began looking for ramen. It is special because he concealed just one of each type of food in there, and it makes them limitless. Now he has limitless ramen and countless of other foods on his person. Ah! Found it. He unsealed 2 bowls of ramen along with chopsticks, which was a huge shock to Luke. A fox. A fox. That actually summons food from nowhere? Where in the heck did he get that from? Naruto extended one tail with one of the ramen bowls on it along with chopsticks to the demigod. Luke looked at him suspiciously before taking the bowl and not eating before Naruto himself taken a bite. He was having trouble holding the chopsticks since he never used them before, which was earning him amused looks and laughter from the weird fox. He gritted his teeth together and glared at the fox, daring him to continue laughing. But to his dismays, it only made the laughing fox laugh even harder than before and was rolling on the ground. Damn the fox to Tartarus. He tried even harder to use the chopsticks but was clearly unsuccessful since he has never used them before. Eventually Naruto stopped laughing and taught him how to use it. With his tails as pretend fingers. XXXXX. After eating several bowls of different flavors, Luke was fully content with his belly and knows that the fox has no intention of killing him. He means, why would the fox save him in the first place? Not so he can eat him like many other monsters, since it seems like the fox has an unlimited food supply. He is really jealous of that. The fox got up and started moving. He is going to decide. Is he going to follow the fox, which equals food and maybe protection, or is he going on the move alone again and risks getting eaten and killed? The first one definitely sounds more appealing, so he strived to follow the fox to wherever he is going. As Luke followed, Naruto looked back and sighed, giving the demigod the "why are you following me" look. Because it's better off with me going with you than myself. He huffed. Naruto rolled his eyes and sighed. Since this kid's Hermes, why not show him a bit of his plan? So he summoned his scroll and handed it over to Luke. Luke looked at him curiously before opening it up. The more he read, the bigger his eyes became, and the lower his jaws dropped. After he finished, he felt a bit faint, but also very devious. He wondered if he could join too, since he wanted revenge on his father and this was perfect. With gleaming eyes, he tore his eyes from the scroll and grinned widely at the fox and asked, "Can I join? I want in on this for revenge against my dad." Naruto's eyes widened a tiny bit, small enough to be unnoticed, before going into a full-out shit-eating grin. He roped in the son of the god he was going to prank. How lucky! Deciding to brighten the boy's mind, he unsealed his God Pranks collection photos and showed it to the boy. Luke looked at the fox questionably again before taking the stacks of photos and looking at them. "Oh my God," was the only thing that the Luke's over-fried and dumbfounded brain could process. His hands started shaking. He had the proof of the god's humiliation right in his hands. And he excitedly looked through each one, his face becoming redder and redder until he burst out laughing. He laughed so hard and so long that he felt like he was laughing up a gut. When he finally calmed down enough, he asked the fox, "Can I keep the photos?" He asked with a look of hope on his face, which was destroyed instantly when the fox shook his head no. Luke pouted. Meanie. But handed back the photos to him either way. Naruto decided to write a little message in the air. "When we prank your father, then you can take a few photos." Luke blurted out the first question that flew into his mind at the announcement. "How did you do that?" Naruto merely whistled innocently before walking away, Luke following him on his heels, whining to him over and over again saying, "Tell me." XXXXX. A house in the air. Fitting for a god like him, the two guess. Luke was amazed. How did the fox find this place? At least he knew why the gods were scared of him now. Just thinking about it is making him laugh, but he held it in. After all, they are trying to prank a god, his father no less, and he doesn't want to be found out before they even did anything. And with that, Naruto grabbed him and shunshined themselves into the god's manor to begin Hermes' destruction. In the mansion it was big like they thought, with things here and there in a very disorganized fashion. There were all sort of random stuff piled together and they both nodded. That is probably the stolen goods pile of junks. As fellow thieves, well, more like a thief and ninja, they understand the need to steal. Some look like mechanics that someone like Hephaestus would have, so it was probably stolen from him and many other things. After scanning their surroundings a bit more, they decided to get to work. Naruto decided that he would pull the medium guns out. Some may ask, why not pull the big guns out instead of the medium guns? Well, the answer to that is because he should reserve the big guns for the biggest one, right? After all, they, as the boss, should get a special present for being the boss, right? And so, with a bit of evil laughing that was being mirrored by Luke, Naruto took out a special pink box and another special box filled with seals and gave it to Luke, telling him what to do with the stuff inside. And so, with light flying hearts, the two began. The end of Hermes' pride. As a member of the male gender. And as a member of the godly beings. Kukukaku, Zeus sighs. First Apollo, now Hermes? Who's going to be next? He most certainly hope it isn't him. And he also wished that the Japanese gods would answer them soon. If they don't until it is too late, he might not even be in the right condition to ask them, not to mention missing all of the Olympians. How shamed they would be. Flashback, where is Hermes? Zeus asks, finally at wit's end. We have been waiting for him for 30 minutes. Where in chaos name is my son? He thundered. Right H here, F father. Answered a weak and old scratchy voice. They all looked toward their feet to the source of the voice and were all stunned white. Aphrodite held her face in her hands and screamed out, "No!" with tears coming from her eyes like fountains. That was the worst possible thing that she can almost imagine happened to her. But no, it happened to Hermes, and she will never let it happen to her. To become this hideous thing. Hermes, in all his glory, turned into an old man. With electric fried hair, and blackened skin, along with wearing a pink thong and a pink, frilly female top, he was a horror for anyone. He was clutching on his caduceus like a cane, and walked toward Zeus slowly. George and Martha have long fainted to heaven when everything happened, so for once, they weren't bickering about rats and the whatnot. As Hermes walked closer, Zeus and the rest of the Olympians backed way farther from him. "Can you guys stop running from me? I just want to ask for help." Hermes grumbled, exasperated. "You can ask us right where you are. And a question, why aren't you traumatized like Apollo?" Zeus asks as he pointed a finger at his son. Said sun god was still in his corner, growing mushrooms and fungi as he mumbled about life and death. Hermes heaved a dramatic sigh, a dark cloud raining over his head. "Honestly, it may be because I have been expecting something like this, I have mentally prepared myself for the worse. And this is much worse than I thought. Even I had to spend a few days mumbling in a corner like Apollo till I pull myself together. But still. Why this? Why this?" He all but screamed the last bit out, before succumbing to a coughing fit. Are you all right?" Zeus asked his son awkwardly before he was rewarded with a glare that said, "Do I look all right to you, you old man?" As Hermes continued his coughing fit. Now, normally anyone who glared at Zeus would get punishment, but Hermes has the right to glare in his condition right now. Hermes himself usually never glares much, and especially at his father, but he is most definitely not in the mood. Life is messed up right now and he can't find his son. "Father, is there any way to turn me back to normal? And I also can't find my son." Hermes asked as he cried tears of self-pity. "We can go get Dionysus from the camp and have him check it out since Apollo is in no condition to." And Athena shivered at that before asking Hermes something they all wanted to know. "Besides, Hermes, why in Hades' name are you wearing those things?" Athena inquired, but she only received a blank look from the god. "What are you talking about? Don't I normally wear this all the time?" Hermes replied, confused. At the unexpected yet expected answer, they all frozen into ice cubes before Zeus broke out his cube and immediately demanded one of them to go get Dionysus to fix his son. Oh no! His son was going mad. They all went into various panic that somehow reminded Dionysus of headless chickens when he arrived at the site. He gave one look at what was causing the panic and fell into a heap, laughing his guts out. Oh, how glad was he that he was given a 50-year punishment right now. If he were still here, this would have happened to him too. As he eased his laughing fit, the other Olympians have calmed down when they noticed his presence. Dionysus reminded himself to thank Iris for telling him what happened to the throne room, even if the culprit did the same to his chair, but at least he wasn't a target. He hopes. All right. I heard from Iris that Hermes might have some kind of illusion on him and you want me to get rid of it, right? He directed at his father. Zeus nodded in confirmation and Dionysus began examining Hermes. As Dionysus examined Hermes, his eyebrows rose up. The more he examined, the higher did his eyebrows go before they disappeared into his hairline. He was impressed. Very impressed. He knew how to get rid of the illusion on his sense of fashion, but he can't help out the old man part. He finished his examination and reported to his father at his discovery. Apparently whoever that did this is good, very good. It is subtle enough to escape a god's notice, and they won't notice anything wrong with themselves since it messes with certain senses. It was applied probably when he went to get changed or something. And the turned old man thing. Sorry, I can't help with that. You have to find whoever did it or Apollo if he ever comes back to his senses. Dionysus finished, just in time before they were interrupted by a yo. From a person they didn't think they would be seeing for at least a few more months. "Apollo," Hermes cried out in relief. At the sight, Apollo snickered. "What happened, old buddy?" "Same thing that happened to you," was the retort. Apollo only tilted his head confused. "What happened to me? I don't remember for some reason." He scratched his head sheepishly. The other gods and goddess looked at him in shock, before Athena arrived at a conclusion. His mind. This got her confused looks before she decided to elaborate. Sometimes when a mind receives a huge shock, it would try to erase the memory by burrowing it deep in his consciousness so it could never be found. It is a way the mind protects itself, and it seems like that is what Apollo's mind did after what happened to him. Apollo rubbed his chin. So something really bad happened to me and my mind erased it so I will never remember it. Okay, I'm fine with not knowing. Sometimes it is better not knowing, especially since my mind took all the trouble to bury it. Apollo finished with a casual shrug. Can you revert whatever happened to me? Hermes asks his old friend hopefully. Yeah, sure. Let's go. And they too teleported away, leaving Athena to gasps. I can't find my daughter, she yelled out. Didn't Hermes said something about not finding his son either? Ares asks Athena, but was interrupted when Hermes came back for a quick message. I think my son has something to do with the prank in my house since I could detect a faint presence from him. So just saying, I think he is in league with the fox right now, and maybe your daughter too now. He finished and quickly left again. The others, at the thought of a child of the wisdom goddess allying with the fox, all let out despaired wails. The fox was already devilish and hellishly smart, so what would happen with an added Athena child and a Hermes demigod? Wait. My daughter is gone too. Zeus wailed out. At the sentence, all the other gods and goddesses began to scramble to check on their sons and daughters, making sure they don't meet the devil fox. Flashback end now, they were all taking watch on the camp, and their backs too. But the good thing was that the Japanese gods have finally answered and will come in about a week. Let's hope the rest of them can survive the week, shall we? XXXXX Luke was laughing. He was laughing so hard that he could have sworn he was laughing up a lung. Talia, another demigod that they picked up, was also laughing beside him, almost dying from the lack of air, while the last member of the demigod group was looking horrified at the TV that Naruto conjured up from who knows where. Annabeth, the last demigod they had found and the youngest among them all, did not want to die. Pranking gods was a definite one-way ticket to Hades, and she can't believe that they actually have the guts to do it. And she can't believe that she followed them as well when she knew somewhere in the back of her mind that those two were insane and inane. But, a tiny piece of her also wants to laugh long and hard like the two beside her, but she doesn't want to bring on the wrath of the gods down on her. When Talia calmed down enough from her laughing, she decided to ask the culprits, "What did you two exactly do?" She asks, emphasizing on do. Luke, with his chest puffed up in pride, began to explain what they did exactly. Flashback. What does these seals, as you call them, do? Luke asks his mentor as he applied it on mirrors, doors and anything around that is a part of the house. He had decided that the fox was his mentor without permission since he, at least he thinks it's he, is so knowledgeable about breaking into people's homes and trapping plus pranking. The reply he got was a manual thrown at his head which he promptly dodged and began to read. He was in awe. How was he supposed to know that those pieces of paper were so awesome? All it had was some random scribbles on it to him, but this said that the ones he were applying were illusion types and the other one an electric type. Illusion makes him think the wrong way, and the electric to fry him continuously until they run out of juice. What's chakra, by the way, he asks the fox. He only received a smack that wrote "none of your businesses" on his cheek before he angrily wiped it off and continued his gluing. He decided. Electric was more painful, right? So he would apply more of those. By matching the drawings that were on the seals against the manual, he successfully applied over hundreds of seals. Fry. Damn it, fry. Fry till you become snake meat. Fry till you can't stand. Fry till you can't move. Fry. Was the evil chant that Luke had thought the whole time he was applying the seals. Flashback. And so that was why he was all charred and everything, Talia said thoughtfully. Can I have some of those seals? They sound awesome. She asked Luke excitedly. They are awesome. And you have to ask him for those seals. Luke replied. I'll ask him later. So what's up with the pink things that Hermes was wearing? Talia asks as even Annabeth moved closer to hear the explanation. Well, that was him. Luke pointed with a sweat drop. He thought that maybe the fox gone overboard with what he did. And so he began to explain to the two, what exactly did his mentor do? XXXXX Naruto sighed. Why does he now have 2 extra baggage? He already got one that decided to follow him, why did he get 2 more now? Flashback. Can we have lunch? I'm hungry now. Luke complained. Naruto felt that his eyes twitched as he continued to ask until he felt the presence of another demigod. This one seems to be a child of Zeus and she seems to be hungry. Naruto stopped walking and sighed, while Luke cheered. He got out his scroll and maximized it to let Luke look and choose what he wanted. Luke could feel his eyes widen to impossible sizes as he looked at every food that could ever be found in the whole world in a single scroll. There were French, Indian, Chinese, Japanese and a lot of other foods he can't recognize. He would have drooled if he wasn't interrupted from his thoughts from some rustling in a nearby bush. He cautiously approached the tree and dodged. A girl? That came hurling it out of the bushes, a dagger in her hands. He took a look at her. She had spiky black hair and electric blue eyes, reminding him of someone. Deciding to take a risk, he asked, "Are you a demigod?" She looked at him in surprise, but nodded, until her stomach broke the atmosphere like what Luke's stomach did. Gru Owl Talia blushed, and glared at Luke, daring him to comment. Luke only raised his hands in surrender before introducing himself. "The name's Luke Castellan. Son of Hermes, nice to meet you and do you want something to eat?" "We have plenty," he said, which earned him a glare from Naruto, as he is the one providing the food, even if it is unlimited. Talia nodded but and introduced herself. "Name's Talia. And I have to ask, what's up with the weird fox?" Said weird fox only gained a vein on his head before writing her a short message. "This weird fox here is your food ticket." Which only got him a small okay. From the punk little girl. She was quickly introduced to the grand scroll of unlimited food, and ate till she almost burst. With a happy stomach, she quickly joined the little group without permission. Flashback and Naruto sighed. Annabeth joined in a similar fashion except the fact that she was being attacked, and the two, like idiots, randomly charged the monsters and he had to save their butts, again. But now that he think about it, why does he still have the son of Hermes following him? Shouldn't it be around time for the kiddo to leave him and go find that camp of theirs? Sigh, maybe he should do them all a favor and just bring the kiddos to the camp and leave before the gods find him. Nodding his head at the thought, he gathered up the three and put them on his back before running toward the direction of the camp. The sooner he has them off his back, the better. So next destination. Camp Half-Blood. Omake Luke could feel his eyes widen to impossible sizes as he looked at every food that could ever be found in the whole world in a single scroll. There were French, Indian, Chinese, Japanese and a lot of other foods he can't recognize. He would have drooled if he wasn't interrupted from his thoughts from some rustling in a nearby bush. He cautiously approached the tree and tried to dodge a dagger that flew at him. Keyword, tried. He was unsuccessful, and instead, the dagger went through his pants and cut off his testicles. As he fell down in shock and pain, the owner of the dagger came out to apologize, as that was not her intentions, while a nearby fox was only laughing his head off as he somehow reconnected the chopped off body part. Luke decided. From then on, he will never approach a bush unprotected from a certain body part. Once was enough, thank you very much. And no man wants to have his balls chopped off in the first place, even if they could be reattached since they have a certain fox with them. Wow, it's so foggy right now. Luke commented from Naruto's back. Yeah. What's up with this stupid mist? I can't see a thing at all. Talia complained while Naruto mentally rolled his eyes at her. That's the point. So that no one will see them, and if they did, it is only trouble for him. He even personally condensed the water in the area so that it will hide their scents and figures so no one can see him approach the camp and drop the three kiddos off quietly. Mr. Fox? Where are you taking us? Annabeth, the ever-so-smart demigod of the three, asks. To your home. He wrote to them. At that, they all stiffened. Home? Talia demanded from her seat as she bristled like a cat, while Luke and Annabeth merely had on a stony expression. They did, after all, run away from home for a good reason. All three of them. Yep. Home for your kind. I don't need you three with me all the time as you three are extra baggage, and I'm a busy fox. So I'm dropping you chibis off and going bye-bye. He answered back chirpily. We're not chibis. Luke and Talia retorted back hotly as the mist in front of them cleared a bit to see a strawberry field with 12 cabins shadowing under the dark sky. Well, welcome to your homes, chibis. And Naruto hid in a nearby bush as he dropped them off and disappeared. XXXXX wow. So many demigods, so many targets, so many victims that he could have. Naruto thought as he watched from a nearby tree like always. The three baggage of his were found not too long after he dropped them off since they made so much noise at his sudden disappearance, that they were quickly found by the wine god, nicknamed Grapey by Naruto. Luke was complaining the whole time about them not being useless baggage, but had fit in with his half-siblings like a glove, and showed them pictures of his adventure. The kids there were awed and looked up to him as the ultimate Hermes child, as he had pranked his own father. That is a goal they would all want to achieve. After all, their father is the god, while they are the half-gods, so why not? XXXXX later on in the night Naruto was sneaking around the cabins as everyone went to sleep, and he, being the master ninja he is, would never be found even though the borders of the camp prevents outsiders. He broke in easily without alerting the gods. If he couldn't, then how would he dropped off the three little chips he picked up? Either way, he is looking through his mental list on which cabin he is targeting first. Aha! Target found. Numero uno, on his list. Children of the love goddess, Aphrodite. Oh, that would be so good. Those girls would be so fun. First, Reasons why they are on the top of his list. A. They stink. Like seriously, he thought his nose was going to be killed. What's up with all of that perfume? They trying to cover up some corpses or something? And those are girly girls, like super girly that are very easy to freak out, and the whatnot. B. They are children of the love goddess. He has a bone to pick with love, and since Aphrodite happens to be the goddess of love, he is picking the bone with her or her children since his love life has been darn messed up as a teen and he wants revenge. Even if it wasn't this immortal that messed up his love life, and it doesn't really matter now. But payback for all the pain he endured. And let's not forget C. What's the obvious reason? For chaos. For fun. And for laughs. Or just for something to do. The 4 F's. Ha. Either way, back to infiltrating the cabin. He carefully went to the pink cabin and gagged when he was inside. What horrible fumes. It's going to kill his nose if he stayed any longer. But he is a fox on a mission, and the mission was not something he was going to give up. So, with his mind settled, he began to take out his weapons to work throughout the night at each and every cabin. XXXXX next morning. Ah. Kya ah. Hey ellll peep. My face. People were running, screaming their heads off, fainting or falling into lovely traps. And to put it in simple words, the camp was in chaos, and 100% chaotic and sweet for a certain immortal fox as he gazed at his little wonder comedy show of half-crazed demigods. He idly wondered in the back of his mind how long would someone send an SOS message to the other gods. But then again, when they come, he has the perfect thing planned for them. XXXXX Aphrodite's cabin. The Aphrodite cabin was in a mess. Well, just a mess was an understatement as someone can just walk in there, and never recognize it again for what it was, and never want to go in it again, unless they were secretly a masochist and want to suffer feminine fury right now from half-crazed demigoddesses who certainly aren't in their right minds. The reason why they were screaming like pigs and bailing their eyes out? Is right in front of them, the visitors from the ocean, Mr. Octopus, Mrs. Octopus, and Mr./Mrs. Squid. The visitors from the seas, how kind of them to visit. Their welcoming present to the demigods were special order octopus/squid black ink makeup straight on their faces the second they woke up. It is a special pre-ordered product that you can't just get from anywhere. It is especially healthy for the skin, and makes it pearly and smoothly white. Note sarcasm, anybody who orders the product will definitely get a boy/girlfriend. Not to mention that the floor was soaking oil for some reason and people were sliding all across the floor and banging into things as they tried to dodge ink sprays unsuccessfully. Cue malicious laugh from Fox here. XXXXXY? Why is this happening to us? What did we ever do to get this kind of horror? Shalian, one of the daughters of Aphrodite, wondered as she held onto a railing of her bunk bed that was once a lovely brown, but now, a dark pitch black as they were attacked continuously by the creatures of the sea, or they also called monsters. Everything, little girl, everything. Naruto answered as he read her mind. His mind began to conjure up dozens of scenarios that had happened to him in the past. Wah! Help Shalian. One of her sisters called from the wall across from her. What's wrong? She asks back as she continued dodging ink, tears, and human beings flying past her. I'm stuck. I think this is glue. So disgusting, my hair. And she continued wailing on and on about her various problems whilst being stuck to the wall like a piece of forgotten gum. When Shalian has enough time to stop and look at her surroundings a bit more, she sweat dropped at the sight. Her various half-siblings who were unlucky, were all pasted to some piece of the wall like a jigsaw puzzle, while she also spied someone who was glued onto the ceiling by their buttocks. How they get stuck up there, she'll never know, or have time to find out, as she, in her short time of scanning her cabin, was suddenly struck by a spray of black ink, and she too, became dripping wet as a black human ink target. Why me? She thought till she was shaken out of her thoughts again by another scream. This time, it seems like someone accidentally set off another trap consisting of flour? Yeah, let's just think that. XXXXX Hermes cabin. Why in Hades' name am I upside down, dangling and mummified, outside on a tree? And let's not forget probably naked. Luke thought bitterly as his bundled body swayed in the morning breeze among the bodies of his other siblings. I bet I know who did this. But the question is, why me too? His other siblings, who were finally waking to the bright morning sun, finally noticed their situation. How they sleep okay upside down, he would never know, as he was going red in the face due to all the rushing blood, making him resemble a tomato or apple in the tree. Those who awoke to the situation, began wiggling, trying to get out of the situation that would have been hilarious if it wasn't them in the position. The branch began creaking dangerously as they all began to shift, alarming Luke, who most certainly does not want to eat dirt nor have his face print in the ground. He opened his mouth to yell out a warning till he noticed something that drained all the blood from his face. Beehive. No. One of his older brother, who was trying to get out of the wrappings, did not seem to notice that there was a beehive right on his branch. Luke very nearly fainted when his brother whacked the beehive and made it fall to the ground. In a matter of seconds, they were surrounded. Luke prepared himself for the inevitable pain as his other siblings who were closer to the hive began to resemble bubble fruits. Damn you, Fox. And from then on, Luke decided that he wants revenge on the one who did this to him. XXXXX Athena's cabin. Annabeth, who was having a peaceful dream of buildings, books and more books, was suddenly woken up by a sharp, piercing scream. She immediately sat up from her bed, dagger in hand, and looked toward the cause. Her eyes widened and a scream immediately tore out of her throat that was mirrored by her siblings without delay as they took in the scene. Spiders. Giant spiders. They all screamed and tried to get away, but alas, couldn't, as they were all too freaked to even use their brains to formulate plans. The giant spiders were upon them in seconds, and the only thing they could do was faint, as the spiders veiled and rolled them in their silk webs. They were eventually fully wrapped in the silky web as giant mummies just hanging from the ceiling, their mouths being the only thing visible. Naruto had to sweat drop at their pitifulness of not even being capable of seeing the whole prank, but alas. XXXXX Aries cabin. They thought it was going to be a normal day. But they totally thought wrong, because when they woke up, they were all wrong people. And by wrong people, we mean switching bodies and all of that, along with random pitfalls in their own cabin. What's up with that? They were all screaming and fighting each other as they were at the ends of their patience to figure out who was who, and what was going on. Being the children of the god of war, they were certainly not patient, preferring to figure things out through fighting. They were all fight till for some reasons. Monkeys could be seen through their doorway, not to mention giant cockroaches? Is that the gods running? Who knows? Foxes are furry creatures that uses their brain more than their brawn because of their small sizes and weaker bodies. They were pretty cute in most people's opinion, and pretty harmless unless one thought about all the stories that the Japanese had with foxes as tricksters. A famous quote, "Don't judge a book by its cover." But isn't that something everyone do? And so, the gods were cursing the one fox that had decided to trick them. They seriously had to reevaluate their thoughts and opinions on a lot of things. Like, they know that people are pretty flexible, especially in bed. But are they really supposed to twist their bodies that way? Cries of unimaginable pain filled the air as Inari took his sweet time traveling to meet them. All the foxes who were disrespected for so long all started to laugh in some way that twisted their faces into madmans. Visitors at zoos had to flinch and cringe while children cried. That day was forever known as Trickster Day to give respect to the foxes, who scientists are still trying to figure out after that horrible day. Myths all have some truths to them. So little children should be good and listen to good advice. Like, for one, be good to foxes or they'll trick you till you don't even have your underwear anymore. Oh, and don't forget the Naruto and the ramen. It's the most important part, after all. XXXXX Hades laughed. He laughed till he could no longer breathe and resembled some elderly man who had to run around the whole world and died from the lack of oxygen. Persephone, his dear lovely wife, also had a hand in his current state as she had strangled him while begging him in tears to help her mother. She probably didn't notice that she was strangling him and cutting him off from his oxygen in her hysterical state. She finally went off the deep end when she started to use her powers and turned his palace into some horror movie paradise. The Brazilian devil tree, the death-dealing tree, and some other cursing or carnivorous were within the list of things she grew. It should have been impossible for her to do so in his domain, but she had a power-up in her road of insanity. And so, Hades was within the list of casualties and the underworld was closed for the next few days. Much to his horror, though, when he later on tried to summon and control his skeleton army, they actually betrayed him. They feared his wife and as such, chosen not to obey him. However, they cried mommy the whole time they attacked him. What an odd battle cry, no. One more god defeated by Naruto, albeit indirectly. Someone summoned Hades to help. One screamed. It was probably Zeus. Too late. He's already down for the count. Hermes reported. Na paraiachi. Someone cursed in Greek. Mata mata dane. Yep, not yet, our dear gods. XXXXX While the gods were fighting against Naruto's massive summon army, the fox himself was trying out some dishes that he just learned from the Chinese that were just amazing. Amazing as in one would start puking out their lungs to get it out of their systems amazing. Of course, Naruto's only going to make the food, while he gets some guinea pigs, cough god scow, to stuff it down their throats. Might as well educate them in the ways of outworldly Asian food. With several pots and pans prepared, all with something suspicious cooking, he gave a command to round the gods to where he was. They did eventually arrive to where he was with his plates and bowls prepared, but of course the first they do is attack him when they laid eyes on him. Stupid sucking no good for nothing breath motherfucking gee as Jacko always trying to get me from behind motherfucking chair. Ares cursed as he took out every weapon ever made for war in his arsenal. Ing mute here and bitch son $# I'm $# cook mother of a % carrot a t and Naruto actually had to gasps at Aphrodite's very impressive language as all the gods taken to the cursing language like fish to water as they said everything in every language they know. They were all pretty much literally burning with the fires from hell as they all ran like people who should be stuck in a mentally unstable ward guarded with the highest threat level known to humanity. To battle fire, water is a must-have and Naruto's always prepared. With a step before them left until they could finally realize their united desires, the ground beneath them vanished, and a sprout of freezing water from Antarctica doused them and left them temporarily shocked from the sudden temperature change. How do you like the shower? I personally dug a tunnel. Naruto chirped haughtily as he gave them the most wicked gleam one could ever get before it turned totally angelic. You must be hungry. Here, I made some food for you guys. And he stuck a spoon down Poseidon's throat, which said God immediately spat out. With that one action they all sprang to life and jumped into defensive positions. I curse you to never find a partner. Hera, using her rightful title as the goddess of marriage cursed as a small ball of light moved towards Naruto slowly. He supposed that was the curse and looked amused. Whoever said I was getting married? Besides. With the small ball within his range, he very casually batted it to the side without reservations for the feelings of the caster. They were shocked without words, some things that seems to be happening very often lately. How? I'm one of the 12 Olympus. The queen of the gods. How could this little animal do this them so easily and infuriatingly? The splashing sound of water notified them to the forgotten and force-fed god of seas as he tried to get the horrible taste out of his mouth. Naruto then remembered his objective as he froze their shadows in place and force-fed them each one of his dish. They each had different reactions. Some looked like they were about to die, some looked fine and commented that there was nothing wrong with what he fed them. This looks odd. What is it? Zeus asked as he eyed the brown soup that was forced down his throat. The answer made him go to the nearest bush and puke his guts out. Worm soup. Naruto answered slowly as they all turned green. Worms? Yep, the real deal. Found a recipe of it in China. They have so many dishes that are just amazing tilde. Naruto cooed as Apollo shakily pointed at another pot and asked, what's that one then? Made from cockroaches. At the faces they were making at him and with Hera fainting because that was the pot she ate from, he pouted. Oh, come one. I got this one from some country so it is a legal dish, not one I made up for fun. It's supposed to be for medical purposes and healthy. What about Apollo was about to ask again but his twin stopped just in time. Don't ask. For the sake of our sanity, you idiotic male. She screamed, but nevertheless, Naruto continued explaining. XXXXX when Inari has finally arrived with some of the other Japanese who tagged along to watch the show, they found the Greek gods on the ground, all foaming and passed out with a 10-tailed fox prancing about in victory. There was even a giant octopus covered in soy sauce and sesame oil doing some odd frantic dancing in another bowl nearby. Several eyebrows were raised, but not at the choice of food, but at the downed Olympians and fox. The octopus was a food eaten in Japan, so it only got an appreciating for its size and liveliness even with its brain already removed as it started to dance the Hawaii dance. How long it was going to continue to move was nobody's guess. With his newest guests arriving, Naruto served some sake before they got to formalities. Nice job. Inari complimented with a thumbs up as Naruto nodded back in, thanks. Finally someone who could appreciate the art of pranks. With the newest friendship budding, they shook hands, or rather, a hand and tail. Inari, god of foxes and a bit of other things concerning foxes. The list is rather long. Charmed. Naruto, fox deity visitor for some joy in life. And with that said, Naruto decided to take a female form, if only to play around. They didn't know his gender anyways, but the Olympians were also waking up, so some mind tricks were a definite yes. With a puff of smoke, a blonde woman in the tradition Japanese kimono appeared, a fan covering her lower face as 10 tails swayed proudly behind her. She gave a smile just as Hera woke up. Time for a battle between women. XXXXX I'm the queen. Hera shrieked loudly as she finally snapped after numerous taunts from Naruto. With a little explaining, and some women fury, courtesy of Hera, the rest, specifically the males stayed quietly as the background while Naruto played with Hera. Vain much? With another screech of unbound fury, Hera spat back. I'm going to doom and curse you for the rest of your life, bitch. Naruto snorted. It's not like he was staying around after today. To be truthful, he was planning to leave and either go back home or perhaps to another world for some more fun. Why call me a bitch? Who said anything about me being a female? The world is large, my dear Tilda. Naruto threw back his head and did the ho 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 laugh as the forgotten Japanese gods asked. What are you then? Naruto snapped his fan closed as he posed dramatically like his old sensei used to do, a picture of the world appearing behind him. I'm glad you asked. I'm the fox of luck who grants miracles to those who asked. Holder of the title Legendary Ninja. With the ability to rip through dimensions and time, I'm the one and only Uzumaki Naruto, who has survived perverts and remained non-perverted. He finished it off with Jiraiya's trademark pose, as they all stared stunned at the odd introduction. Ripping through time and space? Inari raised an eyebrow in question as Naruto puffed out his chest and remarked. Most of it was true, some was complete bullshit, and some needs to be tested. They nearly fell, but with their last remaining dignity as gods, they stayed upright. One part of the introduction immediately caught Artemis' interest. Perverts? Naruto nodded sagely as he folded his arms under his breasts, drawing attention to them as the kimono he wore began to slip off his right shoulder. I was always surrounded and trained by perverts. You don't know how hard they tried to convert me. My teacher was even a self-proclaimed super pervert and wrote Icha Icha Paradise. Icha Icha Paradise? Since Naruto's home language was almost identical to the Japanese language here, the Asian gods had to ask about the title. What it sounds like, purely perverted novel, but I have copies of all the books in honor of him. Naru shrugged and threw one to Inari, who eventually became a giggling idiot and begged him for the rest of the series. But back to the matter at hand, they tried many things to get back at him for all the pain he caused. The end result was a transgender mermaid, Zeus. A featherless turkey, Poseidon. A famous porn star that is a man, Artemis. Dickless, as Sai would once always say, Apollo, who cried Naruto a sea. Some of the gods ran before anything happened to them, or they didn't join in, Dionysus, because he was crazy enough and drunk at the time, taking the chance to drink some wine while his father was preoccupied. Well then, I've overextended my stay. Time for me to go. Adios Tilda. Naruto blew them a kiss and Luke barged in just at that moment. Wait. I still haven't gotten my revenge on you, Luke yelled as Naruto opened a portal. He was given an owlish face. Well, you can't. Unless it hasn't been clear enough. I'm not from this dimension, and I'm just too awesome for you. He turned back into a male as he winked. Besides that, I'm not a woman either, it's a hobby. Luke puffed up in anger as he yelled the most ridiculous thing Naruto has heard all day. Then I'll become the god of dimension traveling and find you and get my payback. He stomped childishly and Naruto laughed. He laughed until tears came from his eyes. Gee, good one, kid. But still impossible. Do you know how many dimensions there are? There are infinite numbers of worlds, and even if you did find my world, you have to find the correct universe. Why? Luke was no longer angry, he was curious. There are parallel copies of each world and you have to find the exact one, which isn't going to be easy since there are just so many. I'm just one of many possibilities. Perhaps I'll see you again when you're all bones. And with a flashy exit, he was gone with a pale white Luke who was seriously rethinking his plans. Unlimited amount of worlds, with parallel copies for every different choices. Gods, help him. The gods only gave him sad looks. It was impossible. And they want nothing to do with the nutcase. XXXXX Naruto, once again back as a fox, hummed a tune as he took a leisure walk. Now then, should I go home, or should I play some more? He thought about it to himself before shrugging. I have all the time in the world, so who cares? Randomness, banana versus octopus. Octopus underwater. Banana peels, everywhere. Octopus, walking on the seafloor. Banana peel, sitting innocently on the seafloor. Octopus steps on Mr. Banana Peel and goes octo-o-po-oo. Mr. Banana Peel, also goes banana. When Sir Octopus puck black ink. Both Mr. Banana Peel and Sir Octopus goes flying into the mouth of transgendered shark. Both got unfortunately chomped. Mr. Banana Peel being spit out. Sir Octopus was swallowed. Transgendered shark used lemon juice to digest him. Sir Octopus, derived of nutrients, was released from the back hole as waste. Dookie. Mr. Banana wears sunglasses, watching the show. All in all, a regular day in sea. Transgendered shark goes to look for a toilet due to indigestion. Serves them right. Banana rules.